But at this time, we are in for a treat of a little entertainment from a member of our youth, Noor Bowman, who is actually the only one who was with us last year and back by popular demand. She is our baby girl from the city of Philadelphia, Noor Bowman. Noor Bowman is an undergrad at Drexel University studying business administration. She is currently a research assistant and intern for the Philadelphia Health Commissioner and serves on the board of the Save Bird Foundation. In her free time, Noor enjoys creative writing and actively supporting her community in a multitude of ways. And one of those amazing ways I'd like to mention that we got to see was at the end of last year when Philadelphia had the pleasure of receiving some refugees from Afghanistan. We got to witness young Noor in her prime as a leader, organizing, serving those members of our faith who were here based upon extenuating circumstances. And we thank Noor for all of her talent and her leadership and all of her goodwill in the city of Philadelphia and beyond. Mrs. Noor Bowman, please enlighten us with some of your spoken word poetry. Assalamu alaikum, Noor Bowman.
Walaikum salam. Thank you all so much. I'm so grateful and honored to be here yet again. And I really hope that you guys enjoy my work. So as always, please let me know in the comments what you think about my pieces. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Lost generations. A full-on war zone right in these streets. A draft wasn't necessary to determine their fate. And by the time we all realized it was far too late, consumed up anger, holding guns filled with bullets of hate. One shot and it's done. Black man always on the run ever since he first witnessed the barrel of a gun. A gun pointed to his face when taken from his land, and that same gun now resides in his hand and resides in his memory like a haunted dream. The sound of bullets linger in his subconscious, a familiar sound, ancestors scattered, descendants on the ground. It's like second nature, something passed down, something that forces your legs to the ground. You gotta stay strapped, gotta stay 10 toes down. His brother's been shot, another brother down. A gun pointed to his face when taken from his land. Now that same gun resides in his hand. The hand of one who shares his hue, the hand of his brother, friend turned foe, the hand of his master, supposed master of his fate. The hand of time saying it's time to go. The hand of someone young shaking with regret. And once the deed is done, he utters, oh no. Hand of a man with a strange hue. He isn't of a typical shade because his pigment is blue. A gun pointed to his face when taken from his land. That same gun now resides in his hand. Our shared story. I've crossed the Red Sea. I've crossed the sea dyed red. Died because many of us ended up dead. Boy, was that a trip. Some were liable to trip. Conditions were like hell on that damn ship. Some longed for a solution and went for a deep dive back into the land of souls. But that is neither here nor there because I am writing and you are here reading our shared story. I didn't go too far and I felt like I was worlds away. Both of us were shackled. We were forced to live as slaves and we thought we'd die this way. They mutilated our backs, tore into our bodies, but little did they know that light was emitted from those cracks. Frequently they pierced, but never into our souls. And when a whip wasn't enough, they employed more. I had a big boulder on my stomach, back laid against the floor. I was being crushed, but never crushed to the core. Because beyond this struggle lied something so much more. And I was standing, stomach pressed against a tree. They kept on beating, but they couldn't beat me. Because beyond these eyes only, if you knew what I could see, a place more elevated for the patient like me. Our bodies were in bondage, but our hearts roamed free. We both found our comfort in a faith of liberation. We are two different Black bodies, descendants of different nations, separated by many generations, but our stories are so similar. Only if we had known that our struggles were connected and we were never alone. When he had led the call to prayer for the very first time, somehow we felt it and our souls fell in line, shoulder to shoulder, heel to heel, so our hearts could heal. And when I winced for my brother. And when we prayed for one another. And when we first arrived, they taught me from a book I couldn't touch, words I couldn't see. Truths were only relegated to a class that was free. And in that book, I was informed about another group just like me, and they too had crossed the Red Sea, except in that story, they became free. No wonder they hid this truth from me. Exceptional. You must be exceptional. You must be extraordinary, far from the ordinary, to be respected in Black, Black and a woman, Black and a man, Black and a person just living on this land. I can't just be Black. I can't just be Black and Muslim praying 5 times a day. I need to be Black, Muslim, and exceptional in every kind of way. My Islam is questioned, intellect too, as if Islam is only meant for a person that looks like you. And when you try to be inclusive and oh so kind, you begin to speak about the first few Black people that come to mind. And as Muslims, we all love Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our beloved Nabi. And of course, we love Muhammad. You know, Muhammad Ali, how special was he? He knew how to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Extraordinary and exceptional as far as I can see. But what about Cassius Clay? What about Malcolm before Shabazz? What about Malcolm before that X? What about Malcolm Little before we knew what would happen next? What about that Black man crossing the road? What about that Black man whose story hasn't been told? What about that Black man who moved next door? What about that Black man who walks into your store? What about that Black man with his head on the floor, begging just like you for so much more? What about that Black man from a different faith? What about that Black man new to the neighborhood, not a familiar face? What about that Black boy friends with your son? What about that Black boy just trying to have fun? What about that Black boy asking for her hand? What about that Black man who was given the adhan? See, we all love Bilal, but Bilal in theory. And when we face the truth of it all, it gets a bit scary. So what about Bilal? But Bilal before the adhan. You see, this is the part of the story we too often fail to understand. Our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam not only loved Bilal because he was one of the greatest to walk the land, not only because he was bestowed the greatest of gifts when he was given the adhan, Rihna biha ya Bilal. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved him before all of this. He loved him because he was a man. Thank you all so very much.
Assalamu alaikum. Wow. SubhanAllah, we snapped hands in the spoken word world because that was so absolutely powerful. MashaAllah. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, our Noor Bowman. I call Noor our youth poet laureate of the American Muslim community. And we are so, so very honored to be in your presence on this evening, Noor Bowman. Thank you. And assalamu alaikum.